Framework announces AMD, new Intel General 16 laptop and more. We've partnered with Cooler Master to create an awesome new way to reuse your Framework laptop mainboards, a transparent, small form factor case. This will be available this spring for $39 use. This is the way. More vendors should do that. A huge load of obsolete but perfectly working laptop mainboards could be repurposed to other uses. Need a small system to set up a service on a LAN, but don't want to feed scalpers by buying their outrageously overpriced Raspberry Pis? What about reusing the board from that old EPC many of us already have, etc.? The $449 Intel 1340p or AMD Ryzen mainboard seems to be attractively priced against other barebones mini PCs, and the Mac Mini too. Framework laptop mainboards. Mainboard. I know you're not supposed to call Trunk Master anymore because of incorrect associations with slavery, but what's wrong with mother? I mean, can't you just use the laptop? I see the value proposition that this has in the particular case of Framework, where you update certain parts, but the vast majority of laptops cannot have any change beside the RAM, if you're lucky, and the storage, same. So in those situations, the best PC case is the one you already have. The laptop. Quick summary for those couldn't watch the live stream: load the website. New Framework laptops are available using Intel 13th General and AMD 7040 series. New 61WH battery, new matte display option, and a Cooler Master mainboard case for $39. New 16-inch Framework laptop. Allows you to have a number pad or not, up to you, and customizable. If I understood the live stream correctly, there are upgradable dedicated GPUs that connect to the 16-inch laptop. The customization goes further than just yes, no to the number pad. Looks like a whole input module system that could open up opportunities for different keyboard designs. Dvorak, various locales, maybe different switches. I love this idea, excited to see what folks do with it. Makes me think of Apple's touchbar nonsense. Why force a number pad or a second touchscreen on folks who don't want one? Such a good iteration on the Framework idea. Split ortholinear keyboard with a click mouse. If someone makes this to where I can just plug and play and program the keyboard firmware directly, I'm switching at the next opportune moment. I'm not a hardware guy. I stop at the lowest levels of programming and leave the soldering to steadier hands. Though my ThinkPad can still handle another 5 years of wanton abuse, I'm sure, so I have all the time in the world. Man, my next laptop is gonna be awesome. Literally everything I want in a laptop, which has never existed until now. Well, soon. I'd love someone to do a split ortholinear keyboard on a laptop. That'd probably push it to instant buy for me almost regardless of the rest of the specs, etc. Split ortholinear is possible. We didn't show this, but it is technically possible to build an input module for the Framework Laptop 16 that is full width, giving a lot of horizontal real estate for a split layout. It would be nice if we could get non-multiplexed edit keys in the unused space. That is the biggest failing of modern laptops. Massive horizontal real estate, and they're packing keys in like it's 1995. Is one of the models of CPU available, the 7840HS? This sounds fantastic. I very well may buy a Framework laptop later this weekend. Edit. Their site came back up. After reading the blog post, I pre-ordered the Ryzen 713 to be my new Linux laptop. Matte display, yay. I missed that a lot on the map. Seems like they still want to bundle a Windows license. I never understand this. Do Ms. pay OEMs to do this? If you pick the DIY option, you can omit the Windows license. You'll have to install Linux yourself, but that doesn't seem like a terribly difficult task for someone already going with the DIY option. I'm guessing they don't want to officially support any specific distro, and offering support for multiple distros is probably a bit outside their wheelhouse at the moment. This is perhaps not the case. I passed the Windows license through 2 of VM on mine. Not that I do much with it, but it does activate. Does it mean I can finally get a high-end laptop without a discrete PU? Not really. The 7040 series is good, but it's not duper class like an M1 M2 Max. I think AMD has been scared to make one because OEMs won't want it. Not op, but in my case, I'd love an HS part without a DGPU. I'm typing this on a 5650U, and its integrated GPU is overkill for what I do. Hell, until a year ago, I used to daily drive an i5-6500 with an HD 530 with a 4K display, and I never felt limited by the GPU. But I do use the CPU from time to time, so a beefier part would be useful. I would rather not pay for a DGPU which I'd use maybe 1% of the time, and which would cost more and way more, and possibly be a PITA to manage under Linux. I don't play video games, and I don't do IML, video editing or whatever. I spend most of my time in Firefox and in terminals. I do use virtual machines quite a lot to test stuff around, so high cores count and high memory would be a plus for me. But NVIDIA PU is a deal breaker for me. I just don't want it. I don't need it. I don't use it. It just makes the whole thing less usable. And it draws a lot of power that I'd prefer using otherwise. The Intel integrated PU is not only sufficient for me, I actually want it. It just works under GNU, Linux, and I don't have to mess with drivers. I cannot stress enough how much I hate having to deal with proprietary drivers. And last time I played a video game, it was Open Arena, and it ran beautifully on the Intel HD 600 my work laptop had. Dell Latitude 7390, great little machine. Edit. Regarding AMD PUS, I'm not sure. I've been told they work with open source drivers, but still it's a power usage I would happily avoid. I mean, in a laptop, you don't use the DGPU on battery, unless it's for compute, period. It should just be sitting there turned off, which indeed means you don't want it. But if it's sucking any power, that's a bug. That being said, Firefox and Chromium use the integrated GPU more than you think, and they feel faster with a stronger IGP. Just try disabling some of the PU acceleration and see how it feels. Every time Framework is brought up, there's a chorus of people saying they won't buy until they release an AMD edition. And as one of them, this is great to see. Edit. Also the input deck and the ability to attach an EGPU as well as upgrade to a newer EGPU in the future are huge. This is a fantastic leap forward for Framework. I'm one of the chorus. I actually pre-ordered a TOTL Asus Zephyrus Duo about a month ago, and it came in last week. It's been a dream so far. 16 real cores of AMD 7945HX, laptop 4090, hybrid graphics, 2 real screens. Main display is a quite color-accurate 1610 milled with 240Hz FreeSync. Low display is a high-pi IPS touch panel, dual RAID-able M2 slots. I put in dual WDS and 850Xs in RAID 0, and that's showing GigBes reads and 13GB writes in Crystal DiskMark. Decent sound and webcam. Keyboard is at the bottom edge. The only downsides are the touchpad size is a bit strange, portrait orientation, and the click on it doesn't feel quite MacBook nice, no USB 4, and the power brick is very brick-like, with a thick cable that doesn't flex very well. Cooling is excellent due to the intake fans under the second screen, combined with the lower heat output of the AMD chip, allowing it to run maxed out without throttling. They did this right. I can't get Pop! OS to install yet, guessing it might need the AMD RAID driver like Windows did. Requires further investigation. Anyway, excited for a Framework version 2. While I prefer AMD integrated graphics to Intel, NVIDIA DuPu would be even better, and even better still if it was upgradable. A laptop GPU's still available on MXM cards. Why even try to use the hardware RAID? I can't imagine it actually performs any better than Madrid. And with Madrid, the drives are as portable as plain drives. You could destroy the special laptop and stick the drives into USB enclosures and access the array again on any other machine. Tell me you work in ops without saying you work in ops. By the way, this is excellent advice. Funny story, I have a FreeNAS device and the motherboard died and I thought, oh my, I need to bring my ZFS volumes up on another machine. But I didn't have another machine with 6 SATA bays. I ended up having the drives all sitting out on the workbench, connected a mainboard with 8 SATA ports, so that I could create an archive of the data, and then got the mainboard fixed so I could reassemble and reuse the FreeNAS, but still it alerted me to the fact that I really needed a 6/8 drive cabinet if I wanted to do this again. I'm very curious why people prefer AMD chips. I've never used one. Would you share why do you and or people you know like AMD so much? Or some arbitrary AI accelerator? Jim Keller should make a 10-storant board. They already want to make desktop cards, and that would be a great way to market them. I'm happy to answer questions that everyone has about what we announced. It may be a little while until I'm able to jump back on though. As one of the QMK firmware maintainers, it's great to see you're going ahead with the customizable side of things, even on the input side. Might I suggest engaging with QMK early, so that we can avoid the usual manufacturer? Hey, can you merge this? We've shipped already, and forgot to raise the PR until now. Absolutely. We've been chatting with Jack and Bear, and he's actually been prototyping an ortholinear keyboard module for the Framework Laptop 16. There are likely some photos of it in press articles about the event today. Hey! I pre-ordered an AMD version as soon as the site would handle it, but I wasn't able to choose between the matte and glossy display. Is there any way to get the matte display with the new AMD option? It's going to be exciting to see which GPU manufacturer they went with. Intel's salvaging Arc. This eGPU that can be slotted in is exactly the thing I'd been hoping they would do if they added GPUs, and the AMD option is incredible. Gonna have to put my money where my mouth is once it's time for a new laptop now. I also think it's important to not underestimate the flexibility and marketing aspects of the eGPU design they went with. Someone who has a laptop they use for playing games with a still fine CPU, but outdated GPU, might look at this and just buy the eGPU. Then when it comes time to upgrade the laptop itself, they might be all in on the value of an upgradable system. Which GPU manufacturer they went with? The beauty of this is they don't have to choose. The GPU can be anything that communicates over Thunderbolt and fits in the physical module specs. Anything that communicates over Thunderbolt and fits in the physical module specs. In other words, only the GPU modules that Framework chooses to make. Is there any way I can interact with a Framework laptop before buying it? I've always loved laptop hardware. Something about having all the power of a computer to go seems so freeing to me. Forever I've been searching for the perfect machine. Granted, perfect is relative to the time. ThinkPads were my favorite when Ebe owned the brand, and since Apple switched to Intel, nothing came close to the complete package offered by a MacBook. Recently I've fallen out of love with the hardware, but OS X is still amazing. Apple had made it so disadvantageous to dual boot Linux that it's not even worth trying, and their own operating system has laughably poor support for gaming. I get that's not everyone's use case, but I feel like it's because they haven't found the right genre of game for them. But that's another tangent, and I'm already rambling. The power of the M1 chip is so great, but what's the point of powerful hardware if you can't run the software you want? So now, after a decade of owning MacBook and loving every moment, I have the itch to find something else. Framework is one option, but I've never held one, and frankly they look quite ugly, cheap. My perfect device today would be if someone put the internals of the Steam Deck in an iPad Pro body. But why sell one device when you can sell 3? Coming later in 2023. Belgium, Taiwan, Italy, Spain. Does anybody know why they do this country by country rollout? I'd be perfectly happy to order a US layout laptop, but they don't allow me to place an order. As petty as this may sound, I really don't like it when laptops arrange their modifier keys as Control F and Super Meta. My MacBook has the layout F and Control Meta Super, which makes Emacs very nice to use. Every time I use a standard PC keyboard or Windows laptop, I can barely use Emacs because it just feels uncomfortable having to stretch my pinky as far as possible just to hit a key. I know what some may be thinking, just rebind the keys in software. But I also want the labels on my keys to not lie to me, and there is probably a risk of some software not respecting your custom key map too. This is my biggest gripe with non-Apple laptops, and one of a few reasons why I'm stubbornly using an old MacBook. I can't wait for them to announce an ARM-based poop board. It's only a matter of time, I keep telling myself. I've been wishing for something similar. I think it's a great opportunity for desktop-style ARM computing to shine. Seems to be down or slow. Do we have an option to add a keyboard with a track point? I'm in the market for a new laptop soon, and am considering a Framework one. Would the 13th General, or the AMD version, be good enough for basic photo editing? My wife is starting to get interested in photography. It would be nice if this could be a shared machine that I'd use most of the time, and she would use for photo editing. If photo editing was something she wanted to do frequently, she could always get her own machine specifically spec'd for that. And if you scroll down, you can see the glowing review that they got from Linus Tech Tips. Who owns a stake in their company? Yais. I think that review might be from before Linus invested in Framework. Not that I can verify it, because the Linus Tech Tips channel is still banned.